What is up, guys, and welcome back to another vlog. Today we're going to be talking about the E90 project, giving you guys an update and talking about a couple cool improvements on the exterior that are going to make a ton of difference. As you guys saw in a previous video, we picked up a new fender, but it is blue. Now, Mickey Andrade has a special update for us on the fender.
Good morning, Mickey here. Got it back here in the back of the car. Dropping it off because it's in my neck of the woods up in Oceanside, California at looks like Seaside Body and Paint. Take it in and drop it off, see if they can match it black for the E90 and see how quickly we can get this thing back together.
One thing that a bunch of you guys were noticing is that the fitment on these wheels, although it's better than the OEM wheels that were on it, the fitment is pretty bad. So today I'm going to show you guys how to measure a car for wheel spacers. Alright, so essentially what I want to do is hold my wire here to the top of the fender, right at the top of the wheel arch. And I want this to be held straight up and down, as vertical as I can. And that will show us how far outboard we can come. I'm going to take my ruler here and hold this perpendicular to the wheel, and it looks like to make this completely flush, meaning we're going to push this outboard, we can come upwards of 1.25 inches. So let's go ahead and move on to the front, and then I'll show you how to calculate this. Looking about a ½ inch. So I'm going to take you guys over to the whiteboard and explain a couple things. So here's the car here, here's the outside of the fender right there. This line indicates kind of the perfect fitment line. If you were to have your wheel pressed all the way up there, it would be nice and flush. To me, that's the ideal fitment. Here's obviously our wheel and tire. This is the suspension or the inboard side of the car. So essentially what I was measuring outside was this distance, how far the wheel and tire could come out to be perfectly flush. And as you guys saw, it was about a ½ inch in the front and about 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches in the back. So now let's go ahead and talk about what spacers I'm going to choose. I wanted to talk to you guys about the 3 different types of spacers that I see on the market today. So for the thinner spacers, you basically just get a plate that has the lug pattern drilled in it. Those are very simple. So as you start to get thicker, maybe the 15 to 25 millimeter range, you usually get a spacer with extended lug bolts. That's to make sure you have enough threads from lugs through the wheels, through the spacer, and into the hub. And then the thickest stuff. So this is anywhere from 25 to maybe 60 millimeters or even thicker than that. You usually get a bolt-on spacer, and what that means is it has 2 sets of lug patterns on the spacer. You'll get the extended studs. You actually bolt the spacer to your OEM location, and then on the spacer itself, 5 of these holes will be threaded, and that's where your regular wheel bolts will bolt onto that. So as you start to get thicker, this is a much safer option. I would definitely recommend using a bolt-on spacer whenever you can. You really don't want to have a super long bolt out there if you can avoid it. I wanted to put together a little chart and show you guys. On the right hand side here, these are kind of the average or the typical spacer dimensions. So they usually come at 6 millimeter, 10, 12, 15, 20, 25, 30, sometimes even thicker than that. And then obviously this is just the inch conversion for that. So if you guys remember from measuring outside, we were looking at somewhere around the 0.4 to 0.5 inch in the front that I wanted to come outboard, and on the rear, I can actually go quite a bit more, but let me explain to you why I put stars on here. As the spacers get thicker and thicker, I want you guys to be careful about the really thick ones, and I want you to consider using bolt-on spacers instead of spacers that have really long lug bolts. Bolt-on spacers are typically higher quality. They're usually a little bit more expensive. I'm actually going to be sticking with a little bit thinner, probably shooting for a 15 mil spacer in the back. I think that's gonna look just fine, and a 10 mil in the front. So the next mod of the day, very important one, installing the Throttle VIP window decal. So guys, there's a ton of awesome stuff for the E90 coming. I just received word from the painter that the fender's gonna be done on Thursday. And I'm gonna be dropping the car off tomorrow at a detailer in San Diego. He's gonna do the full detail on the car, inside, outside, get it looking really nice. When we get it back, we're gonna go ahead and install the new fender, and the car from the outside is gonna be pretty much mint. Super excited to see how that turns out. Now, there's one other thing I want to introduce to you guys today. You might have seen it if you've been privy to all the Throttle social media channels, but that is Rick's 1968 Porsche 911 project.
So I really haven't told you guys too much about this car. So I'll give you a little rundown about the build and what my intentions are for it. The car is a 1968 911L. So pretty rare model to start with. I rebuilt the car to look like a 911R. So 911R style front fenders, a slight rear fender flare, 911R bumpers, grafted rear 911R taillights. Really pretty aggressive looking car, and it's really modeled after the old 1968 vintage racers.
We're a Porsche restoration service shop. We buy and sell as well, but we specialize in just Porsches. Have a lot of the long hoods in here, but all air-cooled.
So Matt is an awesome guy, and he's been helping me out a lot on this 911 project. And if any of you guys out there have a 911, I highly recommend bringing it to Matt. Well, that was awesome. I am so stoked that this car is running now. This has been seriously a 4-year project. It went from like a skeleton of a shell, a pile of parts, into a running car. So off to the shop now.
One eternity later.
Back in the office now, and we actually have a call with January's winner, Carter, and we're gonna be talking about his build on his WRX. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get him on the phone. All right, so just wrapping up that call. Turns out Mr. Alex here got a pretty sick drone, so let's go ahead and insert some of Alex's drone footage right here. Alright guys, I know this vlog was a little bit all over the place, but if you like what you saw in this video, please give it a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys in the next one.